We gotta practice it first. All right. So this work sample you guys are going to be doing is all about finding the equation of a parabola. So if you don't remember, parabolas will look like either a U, or sometimes they're flipped upside down. They look kind of like a hill or something, I guess.
What the?
So you're finding the equation of these parabolas, of a parabola, things I should say. So we're just going to practice the math for it today. So the equation you're going to be using for this entire thing is this next formula. So you'll need to have this memorized by the time we take the real work sample, like next week. Why don't you grab one from?
I'll do it fast.
Yeah, just look on the ground. You always find
Yeah,
pencil or pen on the ground. It's gotta be.
There's half one underneath the other. It's no eraser, but.
Look in the ceiling.
Yeah, I'll break off mine with you.
Sharing.
Yeah, you can just open that way.
It's kind of gross. How much stuff gets trapped.
Oh, God. I don't try
I don't need it.
Keep going. Okay, so the equation you guys are going to be using is y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. By the time we get to the actual work sample, you need to have this memorized, which shouldn't be too tough because you're going to use this basically every time you practice one of these. So the goal of this work sample is to find numbers that we can put in for a, in here for a, for h, and for k. So if we fill in a, h, and k for numbers, we have the equation. So a, what a is going to do here is it is going to be a stretch or a shrink on our graph. It's either going to make our parabola like really skinny, like this, or maybe it squishes it down and it's really flat compared to h we get from the x in our vertex. So your vertex, if you don't remember, is the very middle of your graph, and sometimes it's either called a max or a min. If you ever see the words maximum or minimum, that means you have a vertex there, because it's either going to be the maximum, your very highest point, or the minimum, the very lowest. And k comes from the y of your vertex. So h is the x in the vertex, k is y in the vertex. And we need to go through and we're going to learn how to find a, h, and k. H and k are actually pretty easy. A is the pain. And just so you guys know, what we're doing today is about 90% of the math that will be on the work sample. There's another little piece that we're going to practice tomorrow, but the vast majority of the math is going to be this. So we're going to do that now. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the equation of a parabola with a vertex at 0, 0, and it passes through the point -2, 8. So, in order to make my equation, I need a, I need h, and I need k. So h and k are the easy ones, because h is the x in our vertex, right? And we're given our vertex right here. Our vertex is 0, 0. H is the x in our vertex. K is the y in the vertex. So we're actually just given those two things. H is 0, k is 0. The annoying one to find is a. I don't really know what a is right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in numbers in here for h and k. And if I fill in numbers for x and y, the only thing I would have left is a, right?
Right.
If I fill in numbers for h, k, x, and y, that means I can solve for a if I fill everything else in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this point here. See how it says passing through -2, 8?
Yeah.
-2 I'm going to put in for my x. 8 I'm going to put in for my y. -2 and y is going to be 8. So I'm going to fill all these numbers in, and I'm going to use that to find A. So instead of y, I'm going to go A equals, I don't know what A is, so I'm going to solve for it. X, I'm going to plug in -2, minus h is 0, and I got my square, and then plus k is 0. And keep in mind, your formula is always going to be x minus h in here. So you might end up doing minus a negative, but you always want to put that minus there. Alright, so we've got everything filled in except a. Now it's basically just a big solve for a variable problem by doing the opposite of what we have. So I have a plus 0 here, right? If I were to get rid of this, I'd have to minus a 0, but does minus 0 actually do anything? No. So this plus 0 doesn't even matter right now. Later on, we'll have to minus something, but for right now, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go through and keep working on this, and this entire parenthesis right here, this -2 minus 0 squared, I can actually plug straight into Desmos. I don't need to do anything special. I'm just going to plug it straight into Desmos. Let me grab that real quick. Over here. Desmos. So I'm going to plug that entire parenthesis into Desmos. So -2 minus 0 squared, and I get 4. Usually this will be a big decimal. On the first couple, they're not decimals, but mostly they are. So remember that. Getting decimals is almost guaranteed. So I plug this whole thing in, and I got 4, right? So I got 8 equals A. And what am I doing with the 4 that I just found out this thing was? Am I adding it in parentheses or multiply, right? So this is really an A times a 4. And I'm almost done. Last thing, I have to get rid of this times 4 by dividing by 4 on both sides. And we're going to get 2 equals A. Alright, we did all this work, but we are not quite done yet because have I actually made an equation? No. So I just have to put things in the equation. And when I make my equation, all I need are these 3 things right here. I actually don't want to put in x and y. I don't want to put actual numbers in for those because I just use these to find A. Now that I have A, they don't matter anymore. So my actual equation is going to be y equals 2, parentheses, x minus h is 0, and I have squared plus k is 0. It won't be this easy on the actual work sample with zeros and 2, but the steps are going to be the same. So this is about 90% of the math you're going to have to do. We're just going to practice this today. So I don't think we've actually done this before.
We have.
Have we?
Well, I mean, I remember the age part.
Yeah. I think we did something similar, but I don't think it was exactly like
Told
this.
us that if it was others.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've used this formula, but I don't think we've ever solved for A before.
No.
There's letters as well.
So, alright, so we're just going to practice this a little more. Let's do this next one together. You guys will try one, and then maybe we'll be done. Okay, so we're going to find the equation of a parabola with vertex of 2, 0, passing through 1, 3. So, I've got my formula there. I need to find A, H, K. But in order to help me find this, I'm going to need to use an X and a Y. So to start with, H and K are pretty easy because we get from the vertex. So I've got my H, I got my K. H is 2, K is 0. But in order to find my A, I need X and Y, which I get from my point, X, Y. So X is 1, Y is 3. We're going to fill everything into our formula here, and then we're going to solve it. So I got 3 equals A, X is 1, minus H is 2, I got a squared plus K is 0.
It's the same thing.
Okay, we've got it filled in, but we need to go through and solve it. And when you solve it, the steps are basically the same every time. To start with, I'm going to get rid of whatever I'm plussing here, but that's a plus 0, right?
Is it 3?
That doesn't actually do anything, so it doesn't matter.
Wait.
So I'm just going to cross it out.
It's negative.
And next, I should plug in this entire parenthesis into Desmos right here. That whole parenthesis into Desmos. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to go parenthesis 1 minus 2 parenthesis squared, and we get 1. So I have 3 equals a times 1.
What'd you do?
And then my last step is to divide by 1, not that it'll change anything. We get 3 equals L.
Yeah.
Both answers will go on. So,
Alright, we have to go through and make our actual equation though.
I'm pretty sure
let's
that
kill
was
them.
Okay, so when I make my equation, I really only care about these 3 things. I don't really care about x and y. I'm going to get y equals 3, x minus h is 2, squared plus 0.
Can we simplify that a little bit more?
You could, but we are not going to do that now because once you get to the real one, you can't. So you just want to leave it like this. This is a perfectly acceptable answer. So even though you could like distribute and stuff and leave off the plus 0, I want to keep it very similar to the actual work sample. So we're not going to do that. Alright, so we're going to do another one, but you guys are going to help me out. Winner games. Alright. So, we're going to find the equation of parabola with vertex at negative 3, 0, passing through negative 5, negative 4. Write down my equation. A, H, K, X. And we got to find all of these. So, let's go with James. Start us off. What's H going to be? What?
What?
What's H going to be?
-4.
What? Remember, it comes from the X and the vertex. What's it say a vertex is? A name one?
That's really good.
Our vertex up here is negative 3, 0, right?
Yeah.
Which one of these is the X?
-3.
So H is negative 3.
Is it?
Oh, okay.
That's my H. So it literally gives you these numbers. You just have to put them in.
Did that show me?
Alright, Austin, what's K?
K0.
Yep. And then Dazen, what's X?
-5.
Yep, negative 5. And the last thing is going to be the y, which is negative 4. I'm going to have to go through and solve it for our a. So I'm going to go negative 4 equals a. X is negative 5. Minus h is negative 3. Negative squared plus k0. Alyssa, what's the first thing I should do to solve?
Like
What?
that.
What? It's still
Okay.
let me get closer. What? You're still mumbling.
She's just saying.
It says the point of the
Plug the parentheses into decimals, right? Because I have a plus 0, that doesn't actually do anything. So, did you plug it in? What did you get? Oh, that's what you did. Alright, Maya, help her out. What do you get when you plug in the entire parentheses?
Why is there so many more?
Equals
Let's
a
get started.
times
What if he's gonna choose this one? Or he's just gonna choose X2 because he got it.
There we go.
So,
Alright. And then, so I get your
probably
next
make this
Raven.
an X2 or that X2.
Oh, what?
You never know, he's still.
Close. How do we get rid of this multiply by 4 right there? That's the opposite. Yep, divide by 4.
I think we can do work.
And I get 1 equals A. Alright, but we're not quite done yet because I need to actually make the equation.
Do I have to explain how we did this?
Yeah, but not yet.
You should have made us do that too.
No, we're going to practice the math. Alright, we're going to get y equals 1, and then
I
x
feel like the English part's more
minus h
important.
is negative
How
3
do you know how
squared
to do parabolas?
plus
Just like the math is only 1/5.
k is 0. And so this is my
I forgot we
formula
actually
here.
did
There's only
parabolas
one
today.
other thing I could do. Cursive, it's a minus and negative really.
What? WAT. What
What?
could you do with the
That's really plus a positive 3. So that was the only thing you should really simplify. If it's a
Oh,
minus
yeah.
negative, change it to a plus positive. Other than that, it doesn't matter. Right.
Alright.
Your guys' turn. Let's have you guys. Actually, let's skip this one. Let's do this one.
See?
So skip this one with the 0 and 1s, and let's do the next one. So on this one, I want you guys, on your own, I want you to find A.
Good job, Dad.
So on your own, I want you to find A.
Wow. That's a lot.
And then we'll double check it. And then I guess you can actually, if you found A, your equation is not too bad. Pretty easy.
Figure out how to start this. Oh yeah,
So start by figuring out what's H, what's K, and then figuring out what's the X and Y you're going to use.
Is it a decimal?
Maybe.
Dad, is it a decimal?
I just kept it as fraction. Maybe the decimal.
You just kept it as a fraction? Smart. Good move.
Okay.
725.
730.
So you want to get rid of that first.
So,
25 was 5.
So minus 5 equals X first. And then just do that first. So do that first. That will give you X percent.
oh,
So,
it's not
careful because minus 5 from here and from here. You really have it right there.
0.23.
So keep in mind, your first step on this, after you plug everything in, isn't to do the parenthesis, it's to minus that 5.
Can you? Wait, what?
That was like the hardest part for me.
Oh.
I never remember that 5. No.
Because I thought.
Oh wait, I'm not even doing that.
Alright, let's get you started real quick.
I
Real
was
quick.
just following. I already know how to do it. I was
really
just following them.
I don't think it really makes a difference though.
It does.
Yeah, it did.
It does.
What?
Because even if you get a number that's really close, you'll still be wrong because you did it wrong. You just happen to get lucky enough to get close. They're really kind of sticklers when it comes to work samples. Alright, so in this one, H is negative 2, right? K is 5, X is 3, Y is 7. Fill it in, we go 7
For some reason, I
equals
thought we were
A.
doing it wrong. So it is following
X
my
is
way.
3 minus H is negative 2 squared
What about
plus
7?
5. Your first step when you solve this one, you have to get rid of this plus 5. Last time they were always plus 0, which plus 0 doesn't actually do anything, so it doesn't matter. But since this one is a plus 5, we got to get rid of it first by minusing 5. And then we get 2 equals A, 3 minus negative 2 squared. As you guys go through these, don't skip steps.
Supposed to do my.
What?
I'm supposed to do my spinal balance. I know.
Alright.
Yeah, actually.
Put it back on.
What do you mean don't skip steps?
So like don't skip steps. So like even though you could probably do even though you can do 7 minus 5 in your head, still write it out. So don't just skip around and write like, oh, I have a plus 5. My first thing I need to do is minus 5 and start off right here. Don't skip steps.
You want us
Write
to
out
actually
everything.
write out what we do?
Yes, write out
Don't
everything.
skip steps during
Yes.
the work sample.
Don't skip steps. So I kind of like to say, when you do this, as you do the math, and you'll eventually have to explain it, explaining it like you're doing this for somebody who's really, really stupid. So don't
That's
skip
not
steps.
Nice.
I said like you're doing.
They're just
Like.
ignorant on the subject.
Fine. Explain it, or do it like you're explaining it to someone who's ignorant on the subject.
There you
Just
go.
imagine if someone had no background to anything, just explaining everything.
So don't skip around.
Says
When you
how
do
it
like,
works
so
on
when you
it.
go through and do this, for the next thing you do is like the parenthesis, right? You get 2 equals
Jesus
a
Christ.
times 25.
What's
This
going
is
on back
fine.
there?
Because you plugged it into decimals. That's fine. And then we keep going. All right, let's just finish off since I already did half of it anyway. Divided by 25. And we're going to get a equals, I guess you could keep it as a fraction, 2 over 25 if you wanted.
What?
Just have to be careful. Or, when we plug it in, we get a decimal, right?
0.08.
You want us to write the repeating bar? Oh, wait, no, that's the other one.
This is
I was
wrong
wrong
one.
answer. But if we do get repeating, you want
Okay.
to get repeating bar?
So on this one, yeah. You will almost always not get nice decimals like this. This really isn't that bad a decimal. Most of the time, you're going to get like 7 or 8 decimal places. When you do the actual work sample, you want like 5 or 6 decimal places.
Okay.
For right now, 2 is fine because we're just practicing math. But on the real one, give me 5 or 6 decimal places. So I'll go 0.08 on this one. So A, well, I guess I already have 0.08. But keep in mind, on the real work sample and when you do some practice ones, don't give me just that much. Don't round it that.
Should we do 0.08 or 0.08?
0.08 is fine. It doesn't matter either way, I guess. But,
Hey, Goki,
yes.
could you,
No.
before minus E5, could you figure out that the parentheses first?
You could, yeah, that would be fine.
That's
That's also an acceptable first step. But, And then let's finish it off because we're not actually done yet. We got to make our actual equation.
No,
So we're going to go y equals.
no, you threw it away.
Nothing.
Oh, the ice cream.
Alright, y equals a, or y equals 0.08 x minus -2 squared plus, I didn't give myself enough space.
Oh, God.
L5.
Plus, it's a
Why-
plus.
why-
Cross 5.
Why is there 2 equal signs in this equation?
There's not, that's really a minus and negative, it's really a plus a positive.
Wait, minus?
It's just plus. X
Because
plus.
it's,
Wait,
it's
wait.
always x
Oh,
minus, right?
On the work sample, do we have to put,
Do we put minus or
Oh
plus?
no, you just put X.
can we just put plus?
You can't just put plus, yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. I'm just not.
There might be some
separate.
dumb rules we can't do.
Yeah. Fail it just because you guys
It's x, it was
Provide
x
zero.
minus -2. The minus and negative is really plus positive,
You
right?
don't want
That's
that.
okay, that's okay.
You don't want that.
I just need a Jordan necklace.
Make
Alright, your guys' turn. I want you to do this one completely on your own now.
The,
More hits.
James,
like twisted it.
the last one?
So, on your own. It's your exit ticket problem, but it's not going to be on Socrative. I just want you to do it on your own, and then we'll talk about it together. And then I'll get you your homework. So, A, H, K, X,
Jesus, word. What do you want?
Hey, Goki,
angry.
you can check this out.
No, duh. Oh, yeah.
That was gross. Look at that going on back there.
Oh my god. This is school.
Where's that button?
What'd you get?
5 is whatever.
Just 5?
Whatever that is, -5.
It's negative 0.2. Well, I'm a not nice decimal.
Your actual work sample is not going to be nice decimal. Not even close.
So is there multiple different work sample types?
Yeah. So you guys are going to do an algebra work sample now. If you don't have 2 work samples and you don't pass smarter balance next year, you will do a geometry one or maybe a statistics one. Actually, they come up with some lessons and stuff for that.
Oh god.
Because you can't, you have to do one of each type.
What if they have to?
Or you need 2, but you can't repeat the same time. Right now, you guys doing algebra.
I was like, wow.
Because he's done with school. He's out of here.
2 minus.
Why don't you keep boxing that in? I mean, plug it back in.
Oh gosh. Okay, what am I doing now?
I don't know, Tyler, what are you doing now?
Why are you?
No, it's negative h. So
I'm friend. Fun to watch it.
Yeah, why are you doing that?
Because he needs a work sample.
yeah.
So he'll be in here while we do this.
What? So you let him do that? But I always ask, and then you like give it to us.
Yeah. Are you? I'm just gonna draw crappy stick figures on my thing.
It's unhappy.
You just sit here. I said crappy. Solve it.
Oh,
So,
okay, so it's gonna be. Let me just put this in my trusty trust.
get out of here.
Oh,
Look at that.
Negative 3 and what is it? That should be 25.
Yeah.
Oh,
But then you have to minus 4 first.
Uh-huh.
That's a 4?
Yeah, my bad. So it would be negative 5, 25.
Plus 20? No. There
Yeah?
you go.
Put a little times in there. Here you
Yeah,
go.
wow, I have to do everything.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. On work samples, you don't want to skip steps
I
because
have to do everything.
if you do this and you leave out like a little step, like you forget to write it down,
You feel
they don't go through and be like, oh, you meant to do this, and that's okay. It's no biggie. They look through at it and be
They're
like,
not like
no,
you.
you're wrong.
That
Yeah.
kind of sucks.
They don't give you a break like most teachers will.
Could I leave it as a fraction or no?
That's fine. You can leave it as a fraction.
Lazy.
You're just gonna have to be careful because we're gonna end up using our formula later. So just be careful when you plug it in later on.
I got really.
All right,
fancy
looks
here.
good.
Looks good.
So for your guys' homework, you guys are gonna be practicing this math. Where did I put it?
Can I use restroom?
Where'd I put? Aw.
Oh yes.
Thanks,
I will ask
bulky.
their hand.
Focus.
Sure.
Did you say sure?
Yeah.
For me?
Yeah.
Sweet.
And
Yes.
he said yes to you.
So who said? I'm so confused.
All right. So on this homework, I do want you guys to do them all. You just have to find the equation, and it's like a regular homework assignment.
Ah.
And I want this math to be easy and boring by the time you can do work.
It already is boring.
It's already boring, so we're halfway there.
Why is there so many?
Thanks. Thanks, Lisa.
Oh, no, go back. Yeah, no. There's the undo button.
204.
Just pressing these on your own. You don't have to do them all.
Oh.
So wait, the vertexes are H and K?
Oh, you can't win. Yes.
Ah, alright. It's so hard on
Has no texted off today? At least it's not worth. Yeah. I already did that.
No, I forgot I already gave Devin one. Alright, so you guys have the rest of class to work on this. Try to get it done. And we'll keep working on the second part tomorrow.
Where you at?
So is there just one problem?
What? Oh my god, why is there a line?
Is there just one problem on the work sample?
Yes, the work sample is only one problem, but it's a story problem, and you got a lot more to do. Alright, I need my.
Why,
I need
what
my
do you-
mouse.
What do you mean a lot more? to
I'm
do?
still recording. I need to turn this off.
Turn it off. Are you colorblind? That is yellow.
What are you talking about?
Have you ever
The what?
Come on, cut me off.
It's like
I'm gonna stop recording.
Well, I'm, you know.
I don't want to put all of this